So I headed up to Alaska. I was up there playing music with him, and Greg's wife, Beth, said, "Hey, why don't you get up on that picnic table and dance? Can you still tap dance, play the harmonica, and sing, and play the guitar at the same time like you used to?" And I said, "I don't think so." And she said, "Well, would you do it for me?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd do it for you." My Lord, got to hesitate, please tell me how long do I have to wait? I lived in Washington, mostly around the Seattle area, for 70 years. And I was married for 42 years, had my own business for 37 years. And everything was going real well till my wife died of cancer. And my son told me, he says, "Dad, why don't you just dissolve the business and sell the condo and hit the road and go have fun like you used to when you were younger?" I used to travel a lot. And he said, "Just go for it." And then I did. And my daughter said, "Hey, Dad, let's take a couple trips." So we did one to India, did some whitewater rafting, and then we went to Hawaii. Spent some time over there laying on the beaches. And then I thought, I want to look up my old friends, Mark and Greg, two guys I used to play music with here in Tucson, actually, and in Seattle back in the 70s. So I headed up to Alaska. I was up there playing music with him. Come on, Greg. Beth said, "Hey, there's no place to dance on this beach." She says, "You could dance on that picnic table." So I got up on the picnic table and a little song came to mind, and I knocked it out, and she videoed it. My son put it on Facebook, and it went viral. And I got a lot of people replying, commenting, that really made me happy. It's fun to see an old guy still kicking it, you know? So I got all these positive comments, hundreds of them. And I thought, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. So I started playing more music and traveling a little more. Our friends, George and Annette, they were going to go on a road trip through Mexico with Patty. They called me up kind of at the last minute and said, "You want to go on a road trip through Mexico?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So I jumped in the car, and Patty was in the car, and we traveled 5 days, I think it was, to a little town called Malaki, south of Puerto Vallarta. We just ended up walking down the beach one night, and we fell in love. And I just went, wow, this is so great. Totally unexpected. Same with her.
When we happened to meet, it was just good timing, but I never ever expected to find anybody that I just love to hang out with and be with so much.
Here I got rid of all my stuff in Seattle, put it in a little storage locker, and brought my guitars and mandolins and a few other bits of clothing and moved down here. And so then we hit the road, started doing trips. We drove all the way up to Alaska and across northern British Columbia. And just last fall, we came back from Seattle through Glacier National Park and Yellowstone and the Tetons. And then after that, we went on a little road trip to Tulsa. Well, actually, we took the train to New Orleans, and then we drove the Blues Highway from New Orleans up to Memphis. And we hit all those little towns that the blues guys lived in and played music. They got a lot of museums there. It was a great trip. Wherever we go, we play music. And the washtub bass that Patty plays is so unique that after we play, people come up and are fascinated by how she gets that good a tone out of a piece of plastic. So that's been kind of one of our little calling cards, is that washtub bass. George started it originally, and then he left one here, and Patty started playing it, and she fell right into it. She's gotten really good.
With Brian saying, "Hey, you're pretty good on that," I'm just so comfortable with him. It's like the first time we hugged, it was like we had come home. And I was someone said, I'm never having a boyfriend again. This is it. I'm fine on my own. Wasn't looking. He wasn't looking. But, we know when life throws stuff at you that you're supposed to grab, and there's just no way we weren't going to be together. But by him saying, you're pretty good on that, it just made me want to play more. And so there's no greater pleasure than just playing with him. Sitting out here at sunset, every day we want to play to the sunset, or he has so many great musician friends that just want to play with him. And so when they're in town, we get to go around and play, and it just... It's kind of like a reflection of our philosophy of life in some ways, where you're just grateful for everything you have. You go for it. It's funny because I cultivated more of trying to be really thankful for things. Because when things weigh down, you forget that that's not all there is. So we picked up his truck up in Washington when we went up the coast before he drove up to Alaska. Right there on his dashboard, he has a little sticker that says attitude of gratitude. And it's like, well, of course he does. He wakes up happy every morning. I'm not so happy in the morning, but he's just happy. And so we just want to keep doing this. And we are still doing it.
And that's kind of what we want to do too, is to spread joy, because music does spread joy. And wherever we've played, we've made a lot of people happy. They get a kick out of the tub, like I say. They like the song sometimes, and we really have a good time playing, and they can feel it, I think. And so we were going to go to Europe, and I thought, as long as we're going to Europe, maybe we can make a little documentary about us traveling. What happened is a year and a half ago, just a little less than a year and a half ago, I fell out of the truck. We were camping in the Chiricahua Mountains, and I fell out of my truck getting dressed in the morning, standing on the tailgate of all things, and broke my back in 2 places. So I stayed here at the house for 2 months and pretty much didn't move around very much, and it healed up because the doctor said that would happen, and it did. And then I thought, us going to Europe, we're going to go for 2 months, leaving in about a week, except the coronavirus canceled that. But we were doing that partly to have fun ourselves. But then I thought, the fact that I'll be 73 in about 4 days, and I thought the fact that we're a little bit older and we're still moving around, and I broke my back, I thought maybe that's be an inspiration to some of the older people out there. And then I thought, well, maybe if we made a little documentary about it, they'd know about it and they'd see us keeping on. Hey, thank you.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Good. That's a mandolin.
Yeah, that's a mandolin. No, go ahead. It's a resonator mandolin.
Oh,
It's very good. You play the mandolin? It's got a lot of volume for playing on the street,
You're welcome. You're making us tap our toes the whole time.
Oh, well, that's our goal.
Keep tapping.
You can dance if you like. Thank you for the tip. And that kind of brings me back to my father, who was a pretty cheerful soul. He saw the glass always more than half full. And hard times come, he'd just smile his way through them. And if he ran into cranky people, he'd smile his way through them until they were smiling. He was a pretty amazing fellow. The last 5 years of his life or so, maybe more, he did missionary work with my mother. And they went to garbage dumps in Mexico, and they went to Indian reservations and lived there. They started out actually in Eastern Washington with the migrant workers. They had a free store outside of the migrant camps for food and clothes for the people that couldn't afford anything. Roxy is my chair now, my table too. They're my footstool, my shade in the afternoon. I'm living a rocky life, they're everywhere. But I ain't got the big city blues. I sleep slept last night on crushed granite. The starry sky up above. If this ain't heaven, you better tell me what is. My stony heart done turned to love. Rocks is my chair now, my table too. There's my footstool and my shade in the afternoon. I'm living a rocky life. They're everywhere, but I ain't got the big city blues. His attitude was AA, and the way he got that was he was in a nursing home doing some nursing home ministry one day, and he saw this 98-year-old lady, and she was really happy and really healthy, and he thought she was maybe like in her early 70s, and he says, "How old are you?" And she said, 98. And he said, "Well, how can you be so happy and healthy at that age?" And she goes, "AA." And he goes, "You mean you go to Alcoholics Anonymous?" And she said, "No, accept and adjust. If life throws you a curve, accept it and then figure out how to get around the curve." And so that was his motto, and I've kind of accepted that same motto too. I'm hearing angels. Seconds seem like eternity when the jumping buckets spin. Well, I've been through the drills and I've had my thrills, and I've learned a thing or two. Like you don't trust a cinch you ain't pulled to your friends who ain't true. Life is like a rodeo, it goes real fast, it ain't slow. Sometimes you win, sometimes you get thrown. Let me tell you now, I don't know, 'cause I rode them from here down to New Mexico. Hey, life's just like a rodeo. As you go down the road, you learn a few things, like what's important in life. God and country in a pickup truck, your horse and your faithful wife. God will come through, He won't fail you when they open up the gate. Your wife will let you know if you're on the wrong trail, so keep the going straight. Because life is like a rodeo, goes fast and it ain't slow. Sometimes you win, sometimes you get thrown. Well, it ain't all gold buckles and Lone Star beers. You get a few broken knuckles, you get a few bum steers. Hey, life's just like a rodeo. Well, it's a funny thing about life, but you get just about what you accept. And if it's good enough for everybody else, well, then it probably ain't the best. So when your number comes up and they open the chute, give it your very best shot. If you lose your shirt, you lose your boots, thankful for what you got. 'Cause life is like a rodeo, goes real fast, it ain't slow. Sometimes you win, sometimes you get thrown.
Things happen like falling off the back of the truck and breaking your back. I sprained my ankle really badly a couple of summers ago. Fell in Guatemala, broke 2 ribs. There have been some injuries the last couple of years, but it's not stopping us. So we have our little adaptive devices. You know, he has a cane if he has to use it. It hasn't limited us, but it's made us really kind of accept this period of adjustment.
And what we've done recently is the coronavirus has shut down a lot of the industry in the stores, and we just headed up to some trailheads and played music on the trailheads like we did this morning. Cheered the people up there. We'd hike up to lookout points and play music, and then people that were hiking up would hear us and come over and listen.
When we were in Zion a couple of weeks ago, we were playing, and a couple showed up. Said, can we watch? I was like, of course you can watch. Can we videotape? Sure. We played a song, and at the end, you know, they clapped, but they both said they were crying because of poignancy of the song, I guess, and it was also a beautiful setting. That's what I love playing music together, is people just walk by and they'll stop. A lot of people just keep going, but then some people stop and listen and start, you know, dancing or crying. And it's just that interconnection that's so important with other human beings and that we've had throughout our lives with our core group of people from the 60s and 70s. It's still there. I mean, that's how I met him. But we just make the music on our own wherever we go.
We make the instrument on our own, whether it's Mexico or Guatemala or Alaska or wherever, and we go to a hardware store or a feed store. Feed store a lot of times. The first thing we do is get the tub and
Tub's right there.
And a broom and saw the broom part off. And then Patty brings the twine and we slap it together and see if it works. If it doesn't, we get a little different one. So it doesn't take too much, a little clamp and the tub, and we're in business. And yeah, when she gets done playing, people come up and go, how do you do that? Like when we were there in Flagstaff, there was other groups playing before us, but when we got done playing, the guys from those groups all came up and crowded around Patty and wanted to know where she got that and how she made it. And I said, yeah, probably the next day the feed store will be out of them because everybody wanted to make one of those things. It kind of fits the bill because I've always been into old blues and old ragtime, bluegrass songs. I seem to like old stuff more than new stuff, and that's what they played back in the day, in the 20s, 30s, you know, in that era. And then I got an old banjolin here that I play it sometimes, and got mandolins, and this is even a 1960 Gibson. So we play a lot of funky old tunes, and the tub just fit in perfectly.
So I think we just hope to keep doing what we're doing, and I'll just keep playing music with this guy.
Oh, thank you, folks. You know, we wouldn't be able to do this if there wasn't folks like you out there. We love y'all. Motorcycle. Well, I don't want a pickle. No, I'm kidding. I just want to ride my motorcycle. I got them deep river blues. Ain't nobody gonna cry for me, 'cause all the fish they go out on spring.